Let's talk about love. Specifically, let's talk about that really fine line where the most incredible feeling in the world can start to feel, well, a little bit like a cage. We're going to unpack why that happens and, more importantly, what we can do to find real freedom in our relationships.
Just think about it for a second. How many times have you said something like, my husband, or my wife, or my kids? It's totally normal, right? It just rolls off the tongue. It's how we talk about the people we care about.
Of course you have. And you know what? There is absolutely nothing wrong with it. In fact, it's a really beautiful way to show that someone belongs with you, that you have this close bond. It's what makes our relationships feel so special.
But, and here's the twist, this is where things can get a little tricky. That simple, loving little word mine can sometimes have an unexpected side effect. Without us even noticing, that feeling of ownership can start to turn a beautiful connection into a source of pressure.
So, how does that even happen? How does that completely innocent feeling of mine suddenly start to create this heavy weight of expectations? Well, it's a quiet little process, but honestly, it is at the root of so much frustration and hurt in our closest relationships.
Okay, so here's what's going on under the surface. The moment we start thinking of someone as mine, our mind unconsciously attaches a whole set of rules to them. We build this sort of ideal blueprint of that person, a version that, if we're honest, is designed to meet our needs, not necessarily who they really are. And this pretty much lays out the cycle that kicks off. It all starts with love, but then that feeling of mine creeps in, and with it come our expectations. But here's the thing. The other person is always going to be themselves. They have their own personality, their own way of doing things, and when their reality doesn't match our mental blueprint, we're the ones who end up feeling hurt or let down. And this isn't just some random idea, it's a major source of pain in relationships. That feeling of disappointment is a really powerful one, and it almost never just stays as sadness, does it? It tends to curdle into frustration or resentment, and yeah, even anger, which just creates this gap where there used to be closeness. So, if holding on too tight is the problem, what's the answer? Well, it's not about loving less. Not at all. It's about loving differently. It means making a huge shift in how we see our relationships, moving away from this idea of possession and towards something much more freeing. I love this metaphor. It's so perfect. Seriously, picture it. When you try to control someone, when you grip on tight, you usually just end up pushing them away. The pressure is too much. But when you offer love with an open hand, with freedom and acceptance, you create a space where they actually want to be. So let's try to reframe this completely. What if we stopped thinking of our role as an owner and started seeing it as more of a caretaker? Instead of, this person belongs to me, what if we thought, I have a responsibility to care for this person's happiness? It's a small mental shift, but it changes everything. And that brings us to what a healthier relationship can look like. Let's really break down the two different mindsets when it comes to love. Seeing them side by side like this can be a real aha moment and help us spot our own patterns. Just look at the difference here. On one side, you have possessive love. It's all about my needs, my wants, my expectations. But on the other side, you have healthy love. It asks, what's best for them? That one little shift takes the dynamic from trying to manage a person to simply caring for them. And when you make that shift, the results are amazing. When we let go of that need to control, we give the people we love the greatest gift of all, the freedom to just be themselves. And we find our own peace, too, because we're not constantly fighting against reality. Our relationships stop being these battlegrounds and instead become safe havens. Okay, this all sounds really good in theory, but let's be real for a second. Changing a deep-seated emotional habit is not easy. It's one thing to understand an idea, but it's a whole other thing to actually live it, especially when your buttons get pushed. It definitely takes practice. So the big question is, how do we get there? What can we actually do to build that inner common balance? How do we stop our emotions from hijacking the situation when we feel hurt or disappointed by someone we love? Well, one really practical way to work on this inner balance is through a simple heart-based meditation, like Heartfulness. It's a technique that's really focused on helping you quiet down all that mental noise and learn to manage those knee-jerk emotional reactions. Basically, it gives you that split-second pause you need between a trigger and your response. Now, a really unique part of this particular practice is something called transmission.
The easiest way to think of it is as a kind of subtle, supportive energy that helps you go deeper, faster. It's not something you have to do, it just helps the process of settling down and finding that calm center feel a lot more natural.
And really, that's what this is all about. The whole point of building this inner balance is to change how we show up for the people in our lives. We want to move from reacting, instantly lashing out when we're hurt, to responding, where we can take a breath, find a place of understanding, and choose a more loving way forward.
So I'll just leave you with this to think about. We often imagine love as this powerful, gripping force, right? But what if its true strength is actually in its gentleness? What if the greatest act of love isn't holding on for dear life, but simply letting be, allowing someone the space to be completely and unapologetically themselves?